name is Robin Blumenthal, and I'm the Education Domain Director for Tucson. I have been an independent facilitator of the Love and Logic curriculum since 2006. I love Love and Logic because I really feel that it works. In this video, we're going to be talking about the power of enforceable statements. You see, many times we try to tell a stubborn child or a strong-willed child or a child who's very defiant what to do. And while that might work, many times it doesn't work. What it does is invite a power struggle, inviting us to how am I going to enforce the thing that I want my child to do, like go sit down or eat dinner or do your homework or learn or go to sleep. Many of those things we really can't enforce. So if we say what we can do or what we are willing to allow, that gives the child the opportunity to do some thinking. Are they going to go along with what we said we're willing to allow? Or are they maybe going to suffer the consequence that might happen? You see, if I say to a child, sit down and eat, and they say no, or I'm not hungry, or you can't make me, the reality is there's not good, healthy ways where we can make that happen. But if we say, I am happy to have kids eat dinner from 6 to 6:30, eat as much as you need to last you till breakfast. You see how those are thinking words. My child has to think, am I willing to wait till breakfast to eat? Am I going to eat now? Versus them focusing on my frustration or my anger or my statement if I'm angry and say, sit down and eat your dinner. Giving those enforceable statements allows your child to do the thinking, and it keeps us out of the power struggle. Now here's the key. If I don't say them with empathy, it's another way of inviting the power struggle. If I say, sit down and eat, and I say, oh, that's not good. I'm going to say, I'm happy to have the dinner on the table for 30 minutes, but I say it like, you know what? I'm going to have that dinner on the table for 30 minutes. That anger or that frustration really feeds misbehavior. If I say, well, I'll have the dinner on the table for 30 minutes, you can eat whatever you need to last you till breakfast. And if I communicate in the way I say it, that I'm okay if you wait till breakfast. Now inside, I might not really be okay. I don't want my child to go to bed hungry. I don't want my child to miss out on some activity because they're misbehaving. I don't want my child to repeat 4th grade because they won't do any work. But my wanting it and our children choosing it are two different things. And the more we can understand that, and the sooner we can understand that, it really makes a difference. If I say things to my children, allowing them to do the thinking, then the consequences are theirs. And I can come along with empathy and stand beside them and say, I understand that you are hungry. I'm hungry too when I don't eat my dinner. If I say a statement in such a way that gets my child to do the thinking, it turns my words more into gold. Because I can follow through on whether or not the dinner's there for the full 30 minutes, whether I'm willing to drive to a basketball game when their homework is done. If I say to them, I'm not going to the game until you get your homework done, and I say it with anger and frustration, oftentimes that's inviting a power struggle. If I say something like, hey buddy, I'm happy to drive to the basketball game when your homework's done, take as long as you need. Now your child might say, well, then I'm going to miss the game. Okay, that might be sad. Now don't get fooled. Your kid may say, your child may say, well, I don't care if I miss the game. Well, okay, well, I'm sorry that you don't care. Or they might try to bait you into the guilt, right? Well, you're letting down my friends. Well, I'm not letting down your friends. You are. But that's all right. As long as you don't mind letting down your friends, that's your choice. Do you see how anytime we can hand a problem back to the child, they get to do the thinking? And it's not what we want. It's about them thinking, how is this going to affect my life? That's what we want our kids to do. So enforceable statements are a great tool to doing that. The other video we have on the Vail Family University page is sharing control through choices. Choices also allow us to do that. A lot of times I will give our kids a choice and we have to make that choice for them. We might make it in the form of an enforceable statement. Let me give you a few examples. Empathy, and don't forget that empathy has to be the key with this. If I say, feel free to turn the TV on once your homework's done, that's something I can enforce, right? I can hold on to the remote of the TV. Now, let's say your child says, I don't need the remote. I can just go over there and turn it. I might, with empathy, say, ooh, I'm not sure I'd make that choice if I were you. The reality is they could make that choice, and later you might have to do something about that. Your kids may come home and say, how come the TV doesn't work? Well, the reality is, I just didn't want to have all those power struggles over the TV. I thought it might be better for us just to unplug the TV for a while, or to not have Wi-Fi for a while, or to just have the remote inaccessible for a while. All of those ways that we can say, here's what we can control, and giving the power to your child to decide what they're going to do keeps us out of that conflict or that power struggle when we're trying to go back and forth and argue over things. How about, I'll be happy to serve dessert when you're done with dinner. Dinner is on the table till 7 o'clock. Or I'll be happy to provide dinner as soon as your toys are picked up. Or you could give your kids choices like, feel free to pick up the toys you'd like to keep, and I'll pick up the rest. Now again, anytime you hand that control to your child and tell them what you're willing to do or what you're willing to allow, you might have a child who says, well, I don't really care. I don't like any of my toys. Don't take the bait. Simply say in an empathetic way, oh, well, I might be sad to lose all my toys, but if it doesn't bother you, that's okay. Now, if I say it with sarcasm, that's going to defeat the purpose. Or if I try to talk them out of that, oh, you're going to miss your toys all right. Or don't tell me they're not your favorite toys. I see you playing with them. All of those things invite a power struggle, and that's when we get into problems. Because nobody wins a power struggle. Power struggles happen at the expense of relationship. We don't want our kids to be at odds for us in a relationship. We want to be able to have great relationships with our kids. And one of the ways to do that is to stay out of power struggles. Something else that I want to encourage you is when you say an enforceable statement, you have to say it in such a way that it's believable. I'm happy to let you use your electronic device when your homework's done. If you need to take all week to do your homework, then that's not a problem. Or all weekend, that's not a problem. Now your child might say, wait a minute, are you saying I can't have my device for the whole weekend? You can reply, I'm saying that I'm happy to hold on to it if that's what you need for the whole weekend, but as soon as you're done with your homework, I'm happy to give you your device. I know one time I said to my daughter, we were struggling in those teen years with keeping her room somewhat acceptable. And I said, hey sweetheart, it's time to clean your room. And she said, oh, I'm not going to clean my room, or why does it matter what my room looks like, or none of my friends' parents care what their rooms look like. Notice all of those were her trying to reel me in like a fishing pole and trying to get me to get into an argument. So I simply responded with an enforceable statement. Sweetheart, you're welcome to come out of your room as soon as it's clean. Doesn't have to be today. She started to walk away, and then she turned and she said, what? Are you saying I could stay in my room all weekend? And I said, well, certainly that's an option. I hope it's not an option that you take, but you're welcome to stay there all weekend. I'm just saying, feel free to come out as soon as your room's clean. Oh, she said, this is so stupid, as she walked away and went to clean her room. You see, when we give kids the power to make their choices, we share the control. When we hand the problem to our child, they get to think about how they want to solve it. And they spend more time thinking about how they're going to solve it than in arguing with us. And nothing good comes when we're arguing. So I encourage you to try this. There's some of the helpful hints below this video so that you can see some other sentence starters. If you struggle with how to start an enforceable statement, there's some great examples. You may go outside as soon as your homework's done. You may turn on the TV as soon as your homework's done. You can play with your friends as soon as your room's picked up. You can join us for dinner when your toys are picked up. You can have dessert as soon as your dinner's finished. You can drive the car as soon as you have a 3.0. Or you can drive the car as long as you have $500 for the deductible in the bank. Do you see how all of those things I'm saying what we control or what we as parents allow, not telling my child you have to have a 3.0. I can't enforce that, but I can enforce that I have the keys to the car as long as you have a 3.0 or whatever might work for you as a family. We have a daughter who's learning to drive, and the other day she said, well, what if I were to just take the keys and go driving? I said, well, that is certainly something that you could choose to do. I can't stop that. But what I did say is, if that were to happen, probably you would find that there would be no car keys available for you. And she kind of said, yeah, I figured, and walked away. Because our kids know that there are things we can enforce, and no amount of our yelling or our frustration or our anger necessarily will change their decision. But when we respond with empathy, when we hand the problem to the child in terms of letting them do the thinking, it makes all the difference in the world. I hope that you will try some of these tools, and I hope that you'll find them helpful. If you'd like to check out our Facebook page for the For Tucson Education Domain is below, and I have daily parenting videos on there. And I hope that you will try some new tools in your parenting toolbox to see if they work for you. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you again sometime.